Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Lines. This is your host, your ever so gracious host, Gary McKenzie, and we are here on YouTube, obviously on the RGR Football Network, here with Ryan, Dan, and Seth, group of guys just putting forth the best Chiefs YouTube content that we can possibly dream up. And today's video, I'm going to dream up a discussion about the Chiefs offense. So I want to ask the question from a high level. Did the Chiefs offense or should the Chiefs offense get better in 2024? I think many of you already know where this is going to go. And then after I talk about the Chiefs offense for a bit, I want to talk about the wide receiver position group. And kind of, I think that's really the main impetus of where this group is going to improve next year, at least where we all think they're going to improve. So welcome aboard. This is Gridiron Lines. I'm Gary, and I'm glad you're here. If you're new, welcome aboard. Hopefully you enjoy this content. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already, and then always subscribe. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. We're getting closer every single day. And if anyone has a suggestion in the comments of what we should do whenever we get to 30,000 subscribers, I am all ears. And maybe if someone suggests something funny, we can kind of do that as a little bit of a joke or a gift for everyone, just for supporting us and making this channel what it is. So offensively for the Chiefs, let's just go down position by position. The first position, we're going to talk about quarterback position, and nothing is changing. In fact, if anything, Patrick Mahomes might be even better next year because he still hasn't reached his prime. For quarterbacks, usually they hit their prime around 29, 30, 31, 32, depending on the quarterback and their type of play. I think Mahomes' prime is going to be pretty much in that same window. He does use his legs some, but he's not overly reliant on them, and most of it's cerebral, using his arm and executing the offense at a high level. An interesting quote from Phil Simms back in the day. Phil Simms, dealt with some injuries in his career, and he got towards the end of his career, and he got hurt, and he never really made it back. And he said that he was so frustrated with that because he felt like he finally had seen everything he could have possibly seen and knew every answer to every defensive look that he was going to get. So I don't think Mahomes is quite there yet. But it's been well documented that Mahomes has a photographic memory. He can recall plays from 10 years ago and talk about exactly what was happening on that play. And so I think that Mahomes is inching closer to that place that Phil Simms was talking about, where he's seen everything. And every snap, every rep that Mahomes plays, he's just going to get better and better. And so I don't see any drop-off coming anytime soon at all for Mahomes. So the quarterback position is going to be the same or better between 2023 and 2024. Moving on to the running back position, I think this is also a wash. It's going to be the same, maybe a little bit better. Chiefs are still rolling with Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Pacheco's 1 year better, 1 year improved. And he's playing the running back position, so typically, you don't see running backs last much more than 5 years, but he's heading to his third year. And so he should be hitting the prime, that running back prime window. And so he's still going to be putting forth the same effort as he did last year, and most likely the same production, as long as he doesn't get injured, knock on wood. So the the running back position should be the same. Moving on to the offensive line. So we'll start with right tackle. Still going to be Jawan Taylor. 1 more year in Andy Reid's system. 1 more year to improve. Try to work on some of those issues that he had last year. The interior offensive line, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney. That's all staying the same. All of those guys are young or young enough to where they shouldn't have a drop-off. And then moving to left tackle. So this is where you have to ask the question. Will either Kingsley Suamataia or Wanya Morris be able to put forth more effort or a higher level of play than Donovan Smith did last year? and I think they will. I think that maybe they might give up more pressures. They may be a little less effective in the run game, especially if it's Suamatai that gets the starting nod, but they won't have as many self-inflicted wounds. I don't see Suamatai, who was not penalized a ton in college, getting to the NFL and having anywhere near as many holding penalties as Donovan Smith did. And Wanya Morris, I don't see him getting as many penalties as Donovan Smith did either. So I think the Chiefs are going to improve, not necessarily that they'll give up fewer sacks or they'll have more push. It's just they won't have all these self-inflicted wounds. So I think the offensive line just got a shade better. Wide receiver position, or sorry, I keep wanting to jump to wide receiver position because that's the position I really want to talk about. But the tight end position, I think that this is the second most improved group on this Chiefs offense going from 2023 to 2024. And a lot of people have already forgotten that the Chiefs signed Irv Smith, a tight end from Cincinnati with some upside, with some athleticism. He's 6'2", he's not the tallest tight end. And, maybe not the best blocking tight end, but he's got some athleticism. He can catch the ball. He's got some speed. He's going to be a good piece for this group. And if you look at the group from 2023, which is essentially Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and Blake Bell, the Chiefs are going with Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Irv Smith, and Jared Wiley heading into 2024. And that is, in my opinion, from a depth perspective, a much improved group. So I think that the tight end position is the second most improved group heading into 2024. But the most improved group is the group that I keep wanting to talk about, my Freudian slips. I keep mentioning wide receivers. But the wide receiver position should be the most improved group for the Chiefs in 2024. And so in 2023, really the Chiefs were trotting out a rookie Rashee Rice, who at the beginning of the year was not getting much playing time, was not getting very many snaps. Kadarius Toney was supposed to be the guy, and he was the guy that disappeared all year long for the Chiefs. Sky Moore has never been able to fulfill his role that the Chiefs have asked him to be in. Now, maybe they're asking him to play the wrong position. Maybe he belongs in the slot. But we'll see if they try to do that some more next year. I don't know. And then also they had Justin Watson taking a lot of the snaps. And then they sprinkled in McCole Hardman. And then barely saw Justin Ross do anything. So that was the group in 2023. The group in 2024 is going to be, I believe, anchored by Rashee Rice whenever he is not on his suspension. So this is a group that's going to be led by Rashee Rice after he serves his suspension. And we've already talked at length about that. I want him to get suspended. I want him to have to face up to what he did, face the consequences of what he did, because I believe that's going to be what helps him grow and learn from his mistake. If you just keep giving someone second chances, that just doesn't carry as much of a weight as if you have to actually face the consequences of your own actions. So I wish that he never does anything close to what he did in Dallas, Texas ever again. And one of the better ways to go about doing that is to make sure that he faces consequences for his decisions. And so all of that is pending. We don't know what's going to happen at the start of the season, but I would believe that Roger Goodell would put Rashee Rice on the commissioner's exempt list to start the season. And I think he's probably going to be getting around a 6 to 8 game suspension, if I had to guess. So that makes some interesting opportunities for the Chiefs wide receiver group, who, instead of trotting out the likes of Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, and Rashee Rice as your top 4 guys, the Chiefs are going to have a top 4 guys whenever Rashee Rice is playing. It's going to be Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and then Justin Watson, which Justin Watson, I believe, is a good number 4 receiver. But you don't want him to be your second guy. You don't want him to be the number 2. So the wide receiver group going from 2023 to 2024 is so much improved, so much better than what they put out on the field in 2023. This should mean that the Chiefs' offense is going to be better in 2024. Just the eyeball test on paper, but the game isn't played on paper. And I think that the Chiefs are trying to do different things in training camp this season. They're trying to push the ball down the field more. They were doing this in OTAs. I think they're going to continue to do this in training camp. And I think that's because the way the NFL operates, it ebbs and flows. And defenses in the NFL, they're really good at figuring out what offenses are doing, and then after a period of time, they can stop it. So if you look at the numbers last season was one of the most defensive-heavy NFL seasons in the last 20 years. I think the points per game dipped around the 21 points per game mark, and it was the lowest total it had been in a long time. So I think defenses are starting to figure out how to stop these offenses, and the way to get out of that rut of defenses figuring you out is that you have to change what you're doing. And the Chiefs had moved to more of a ball control style offense. So the opposite of a ball control style offense is a huck it and chuck it. And I think that's what the Chiefs are going to look to do next season. And that's why they picked up Hollywood Brown. That's why they picked up Xavier Worthy. They want to get back to stretching the field both vertically and horizontally. And these are two guys that can help them do this. So as far as the Chiefs wide receiver position goes, we mentioned in the last video that, hey, like, there's all these bodies, and if the Chiefs only keep 6 or 7 guys, they're going to have to cut somebody. They're going to have to cut somebody out of Sky Moore, Cornell Powell, Nikko Remigio, Justin Ross, McCole Hardman, Kadarius Toney, Montrell Washington. You know, one of these guys are going to, or 3 or 4 of these guys are going to have to get cut. And so what does that leave that with the Chiefs? And I think that Rashee Rice's situation, he's going to start the season on the commissioner's exemption list, which I believe removes him from the roster, the active roster, which really helps the Chiefs a little bit. It would help them more if he was on the field, but it helps them a little bit in terms of roster management, because they can fill one of those wide receiver roster positions with someone other than Rashee Rice. And so that means maybe a guy like Nikko Remigio gets a shot. And during OTAs, he was really the talk of the town. And tweet after tweet came in, Nikko Remigio this, Nikko Remigio that. And in college, you know, the one knock against him was that he was undersized. I believe he's 5'9", 5'10", 185, 190 pounds. But he's also very strong, which is unusual. He's one of the stronger wide receivers that came out in the draft. I think he did 19 reps on the bench, 18 or 19 reps, which is a lot especially for a smaller wide receiver. So he's strong. And then in terms of other things about his game, he has a smoothness to him, really good hands. And, you know, we just saw another player that's similar in stature to Nikko Remigio get drafted, have almost the identical 40 time as Nikko Remigio, similar traits, really good hands, a savviness, and that player just blew up on the scene. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Puka Nacua. So Puka Nacua ran a 4.56 40. Nikko Remigio ran a 4.57 40. So they're almost identical in speed. They're both about the same size. Coming out of college, they had the same profile about them, you know, savvy, good hands, not afraid to go over the middle, tough. And so Nikko Remigio is going to be the guy that I'm looking at in camp more than anyone for the Chiefs to see if they can take advantage of that empty roster spot that Rashee Rice's suspension might fill. So probably more than anybody on the offense, I'm looking at Nikko Remigio to see what he does. And if the Chiefs can get a diamond in the rough at the wide receiver position, even with this group of players that they've added, that's just another weapon for Mahomes to throw the ball to, another player that makes them that much better. And if you remember, Nikko Remigio didn't get a chance last year because I believe he injured his wrist and he was put on IR and never came off throughout the season. So Nikko Remigio is my number one guy I'm wanting to watch for the Chiefs. And then I'm also excited to see what Jared Wiley can do. I'm interested in him. And then Kingsley Suamataia as well. But overall, top to bottom, the Chiefs did not take a step backward at all on the offensive side. If anything, they got better at the tight end position. They got better at the wide receiver position. And then perhaps they got a little bit better at the left tackle position. So this is a group that is improving and going to be better in 2024 than they were in 2023, which you would hope because the Chiefs' offense was oftentimes looking rather mediocre in the 2023 season. So I think this is a group that's going to improve. Got my eyes set on this wide receiver group. Some guys are going to get cut that you wouldn't expect to get cut, and you might have an extra roster spot because of Rashee Rice's suspension. I'm excited to see Nikko Remigio, see what he can do. And it should be a fun group to see how they shake out. Will Kadarius Toney be on this team in 2024? Does his athletic upside in the draft pick the Chiefs spent on him for a trade keep him on the roster? Let me know down in the comments. Who are your favorite picks for this Chiefs wide receiver group? Who do you think gets cut? I'm still mulling all this over, but that's all I got today for today's video. Once again, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for stopping by, watching this content. Love talking Chiefs with you guys and gals. And have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. This is Gary signing out. Go Chiefs.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.